Welcome to the webinar. I'm Maria Goldberg. I work for USTA SoCal. My partner in crime here discussing safety and liability is
me, Ken Grassley.
Our growth manager for USTA SoCal. As always, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or you can hold them until the end. Just want to go through our agenda today. First of all, welcome to all of you. Nice to have you here on the eve of a holiday, so thank you. Our agenda today will be introductions. We have some trivia challenge winners. We have a recap. If anyone wanted to discuss anything from last week's webinar, we'll talk about a liability, event safety, player safety, personal safety, and then questions. All right, first our Kahoot challenge results. Shout out to our third place finisher. We have no idea who you are, but apparently you're CT1. Woot woot. Our second place person or participant is Nancy Lady. And then last but not least, our first place finisher, who we have no idea who you are, but I'm going to take a stab at it and say it's Igor Privilakowski, and he just goes by Priv for short. But I don't know. My guess.
That's a really good guess, Maria.
Huh?
That's a really good guess, Maria.
You think so?
I think so.
Okay. Well, congratulations to you. You'll be receiving a gift from the fabulous Vanna White named Chris Wilson up in NorCal, coming to a place near you soon. Our last webinar was about emotional intelligence. I think we took away well, at least I took away from it is not making assumptions about situations and walking in with an open mind. Anybody else have anything to add that perhaps enhances what they've taken away from that, took away from that? Oh, okay, moving on. Our first conversation topic today is going to be liability. Being an official comes with a lot of responsibility. And of course, when you act responsible, some would say you're liable. And some would say if you act irresponsible, you're also liable. We do have some liability insurance available. I'm not sure if all of you are aware of this organization, National Associations of Sports Officials, NASO for short. It's an organization that insures and supports officials of all sports in the United States. If you are a member of this organization, you get several benefits, up to including their sports official security program, their fabulous monthly digital and paper magazine, their official newsletter, their e-newsletter. They give you interactive sports quizzes. They also are advocates on behalf of critical issues impacting sports and their officials. You get some discounts to their summits, other discounts to things that they're associated with. You get discounts on rental cars, hotels, etc. There's also some Marriott VIP cards you get access to. Your membership is tax deductible, and they're currently at over 2,600 members. In blue in the corner, you will see there that this is available for purchase for the remaining pieces of 2024. And I have it on good authority, and Chris and Ken, you can correct me if this is not correct, that part of being a USTA official in 2025, your benefit package will include a year-long membership to this association.
That is the rumor. It was discussed about a month ago that they're putting the budget in to include a NASO membership for all officials in the database. And I'm pretty sure that's going to come to fruition. If it doesn't, I'm sure that NorCal and SoCal will get the resources together and make it happen anyway. So either way, but I'm pretty sure USTA National Officiating has put it in the budgeting for 2025 to include that as being an official, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool because if you look at this list here, if you do become a member and you do receive the SOS program, you're going to get any organization, so tennis, basketball, volleyball, etc. They're all covered. Doesn't matter if it's intro or elite, still covered, and it covers everything you do as an official. You know, whether you're setting up net sticks or you're face to face with a player who's not so happy. You get $100,000 worth of coverage as a game call is what they use to say if you're assigned to work a match or an event, or you're an assigner. So if somebody sues you because you made a bad call in a game, this insurance would cover you in that legal arena. You're also covered if someone sues you for a decision you made as the assigner or the off-court referee. You also get access to information and consultation programs. So there's professional service types. Basically, they're a resource for you to go to if you need some help with things. And you also get $15,000 worth of assault protection program. When I first read about the assault protection program, I was a little bit baffled as to what that means. But obviously, it's if someone does you any harm, this membership can assist you in finding an attorney, helping with legal fees, helping with medical expenses, recovering lost wages, travel expenses, and anything else reasonable that you would have had if you had not been assaulted. So it's a pretty cool little program. Little details here is if you make any errors or omissions, which could wind up in a financial loss for someone, or there was any bodily injury, or a call that was challenged, or a financial loss, or a lawsuit against you, this policy would defend you in those. In addition, it gives you more coverage for the assault protection. They're a very large organization. They're very well funded and represented, and the current price right now is $129 a year. So I believe you can prorate for a half a year, and you could get that for $60 and not have to worry about what happens if you make the call you're supposed to make as an official. Kind of gives you peace of mind. Here are some examples of the situations that some officials, albeit they may not be tennis officials, have found themselves in. There's an association that was looking into whether or not they were receiving full payment for things, and the attorneys at this association helped recover the financial statements, proving that the money was being fully funded as opposed to not. So they're a resource for you to leverage people for information. They also support tax issues and laws. There was a situation where someone was owed money from the local officials association, and they couldn't get their check. They reached out to the paying entity, which didn't pay. And they were referred to the legal library. They drew up a legal document and they got a demand for the information. And lo and behold, if they didn't get paid, they're $800. So I'm not sure how many of you wind up not getting paid, but this is a resource for that as well. Other examples of support are, someone was assaulted at a youth basketball game. A fan approached them and yelled at them and then threw a beverage on them. They filed the police report and a game report. And they were on the verge of filing assault charges and wanted some advice on whether or not they should do that. If you filed a police report that does engage them, it would be classified as an assault. And it gave them the advice not to talk to anybody except a lawyer. And when they spoke to the lawyer, then they gave them the support and how to move forward. So they do a lot of different things, obviously injury, obviously tax, obviously legal resource, etc. And then, of course, if you're out of work because of anything that happened, they would give you access or advice to seeking compensation for that. Any questions about liability? Liability is a strange subject because you never really think that you are liable until somebody tells you you were irresponsible and you wind up getting a summons or an issue. And it's always good to have support and peace of mind and resources. We, as the SCTA and the USTA Northern California, are a great source of resource for answers, but we are not attorneys and we don't work in law enforcement. So there's a few places where we would want you to have other resources for information, et cetera. Ken, anything to add about liability?
No, I mean, I've known about NASO for a long time, and it just seems to be a very sound decision for me personally. Um, that it's good to be a member. You know, obviously it's optional to everyone listening today, but it's worth looking into just in case. Um, Again, hopefully 2025, you won't have to look into it because it'll be part of your officiating with USTA. So, but for the time being, it's definitely worth taking a look into if you haven't already.
Awesome. Our next topic of conversation is safety. I think when we talk about safety, there's a lot of different directions and ways that this can go. When we talk about it in terms of tennis, I think we look at it as personal safety, safety of the event, and then safety of the other people that are there with us, i.e. the players. And those would certainly be the three perspectives we would want to take on creating a safe environment for fair and fun play. When it comes to personal safety, I don't think any of us ever think about this as much as we should. But few tips to the point here. Being safe means you should trust your instincts. Those of you who have been around for a while, you always have that deja vu or that I thought that was weird. Listen to those and follow up on those because your gut instincts are something that will always be with you and are usually right. If it doesn't look or feel right, it might not be. Be aware of your surroundings. Oftentimes we don't stop and have a look at where we are or what we're doing or how far we walked, or we're reading our phone instead of watching where we're walking, or we're watching where we're walking and we don't see what's right in front of us. But being aware of your surroundings. If you're ever leaving late at night, use the buddy system or ping if you're on this call and you're out riding your bike at night, put on your reflecting bands so that nobody gets you. Women, especially if you're leaving, any parking lots late at night, make sure you're getting an escort out. Always be calm and confident, whether you are or not internally. Always project that you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, and you got this. Looking nervous is always an indication that trouble is on its way. If you're unsure of things or you need anything, ask for help. It's never, can you help me do this? Or do you think this could be okay? Always just seek out another opinion if you're not sure. And again, trust your instincts. If something looks unsafe, let somebody know about it. Right? Ooh, that umpire chair looks really wobbly. 10 minutes later, Johnny climbs up in it, and guess what happens? 911, Johnny's off in the ambulance because guess what? That chair was wobbly. So make sure we're reporting unsafe conditions and likewise accidents if they happen. If something happens, reach out and report them so that we have a documentation of what happened in case somebody wants to go back and know your perspective. My short-term memory is not very good, so I have to write everything down. Likewise, the red truck that Ken said was blue that passed by us at 10 o'clock. No, I mean 11:30. It's always better remembered if you keep an account of it. And then teach yourself and train yourself and know how to react in an emergency situation. Calm is always good. Confident is always good. Short directions is great. I mean, you never know what's going to happen until it does. We had an incident just this last weekend on a court where a player retired from a match, walked about, I don't know, 15 paces and collapsed. And we had to call 911, and everyone's like, oh my God, he must have been 70. No, this kid was 17 years old. And he was dehydrated and having cramps and spasms and just collapsed. But you never would have known there was an ambulance on site to the other 13 courts that were playing because everybody was calm and confident and knew how to react in an emergency situation. Ken, anything to add to this list?
No, a lot of what we do as officials is that we're cool, calm, and collected in everything that we do. So if we're prepared for anything that can happen, then we're just ready. We're ready to handle what comes our way.
Awesome. Then there's always the proverbial angry parents and angry players. As officials, no doubt you guys get a brunt of people's anger and lack of anger management. And things do happen. I'll play a little video for you. I'm not sure if some of you will remember this, but is it working?
Yes.
And look at that. Lovely player kicks the official. The wood goes into his shin, and now he is injured. So things do happen, and there are codes and there are processes in place for when these things happen. I mean, oh my God, look at that guy. Straight in. Well, guess who wound up winning this match?
Not
That's
Nell
Tom Barnes
Bandy.
there. Tom Barnes went right out and said, David Nalbandian, you have a nice day. You are not welcome here anymore. I'm sorry that that injury you caused has forced us to ask you to retire the match. Have a nice day. So knowing your stuff, using your codes, and asking people who are disruptive and unsportsmanlike to leave are tools that you have in your toolkit in order to keep the area safe. Having someone like that around and having those lovely ladies yelling at you is not good for fair or fun play on the court. Ken, anything to add to unsportsmanlike conduct by players or parents?
I mean, it's not the norm, but when it does happen, you just know that there are ways to address a spectator, a parent who maybe is a little too animated, and you just need them to get the message. They need to take a step back. So there are processes we all can take to hopefully de-escalate that high level of stuff the parent is having. So just do your best. I know a lot of times I'll just calmly talk to them and say, hey, just please, if you can please just tone it down, take a step back. If they don't follow, then we have the entourage rule saying, if you don't, then unfortunately I'm going to have to coach your son or daughter because of your actions. And honestly, I've only done that once in the last couple of years, but I did do it. I had some parents that just weren't going to listen. And I finally, unsportsmanlike conduct, I went on court. I let this 12 and under young boy know that he got a point penalty. It wasn't because of him, but it was because of his father. And the kid looked at me and he goes, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then he continued to play his match. That I had to de-escalate the parent from just being not a good sport from the outside. So when it does happen, don't be afraid to address that outside interference, i.e. parent, mom or dad. Sometimes it's a coach, but sometimes you have to go there and it's okay. And yeah, okay.
Well, every once in a while, there are situations where de-escalating and using your tools don't work, and you get threatened, as our fabulous Mr. Rubelev did to this fantastic young man who looks like he's what, 14? Poor guy. But again, you know, he sat there and he took it. What happens to this? Is this acceptable behavior or not? So when there are threats or retaliatory things happening. Oops. Did it work?
Well, we're watching the soccer.
That is what we want. So
Yes.
sometimes in other sports.
Okay, go ahead. There you go.
Like officials get shoved, and officials get in the face, and officials get yelled at, and other officials get yelled at. So bad behavior is all over, and it's what we do about it and how we stand for it that makes a difference.
Maybe we need to have flags in tennis officiating. I'm only kidding. I think communication works best always. So.
Well, yeah, but it's everywhere, and even when you do give yellow cards or you do give red cards or you get ejected, people still act like they're unbelievably unsportsmanlike. So in situations like that, again, go back to using your tools and asking them to leave and getting the support in doing that. If you ever feel threatened to a point where you're afraid, use your resources of the law enforcement or emergency services and the buddy system or a backup to help you. Anything to add to threats or retaliation, Ken?
Not that I can think of. There's a question. Let me check the question.
Sure.
What is the consequence from Southern California Tennis Association when parents act out, cursing at officials, racial slurs, fighting, etc.? There's really, I'm going to say, zero tolerance. I mean, we'll support you, USTA SoCal. I mean, I think everybody down the line will support you. You have to, unfortunately, deal with that parent. If they don't follow your instructions to like leave and stop, then you just code out the player that's so associated with them. Usually when you give the point penalty, that solves the problem. But sometimes it doesn't. So and sometimes then you have to go to a game penalty. Or you got to call the tournament director and say, hey, we need this person removed because they're at that level or they just don't need to be there anymore. So you have options as an official. And honestly, I think anybody would support you making the decision to remove the official or to code out the player if the parent isn't acting appropriately. I don't think that would ever be an issue that we would not support. I can't imagine.
Yeah, the same way if there is foul language, that's an automatic.
Oh yeah, I mean if they, yeah, then it's enough. You can go straight to default. Yeah, you're not gonna, you know, point game that one out. If it goes to that level, then the match is done.
Asking a parent to leave the premises is acceptable.
Yes.
Keeping them off the fence is acceptable.
Yes.
Asking them not to talk to you like that is acceptable.
Absolutely.
Filing a grievance against them post-event is acceptable.
Official filing a grievance?
Yes.
Is that what you're meaning? Oh, absolutely. I've done it a couple of times. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And having witnesses and getting them to document the situations is always best because we have a clear picture of what happened.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Any other questions about personal safety or threats and retaliation? Okay, let's talk a little bit about event safety. And I used event as the word here only because it includes matches, tournaments, league events, anything that's sanctioned by USTA. And there's always the what could possibly go wrong. I don't know if you guys remember this one, but this is one of my favorite videos ever.
Yeah.
Where who knew how well behaved dogs could be? and nothing could possibly go wrong. But look at the ball boys. And they didn't even chase the balls until they had to. And now he goes. Again, not all of us are ever going to deal with anyone who's as well trained as they are. So we have to make sure that we're set up for success so that nothing goes wrong. When you get to a facility, you should familiarize yourself with it. Most of us are used to going places that we know, but make sure you know where the water for drinking is available. Make sure you know where the restrooms are. Find out if there's a trainer. Huge, huge, huge. Know where the AED is. You never know if you're going to need it, but you should always know where it is. 2 situations I've been in my 8 years of being here that we've actually had to use it, and it saved someone's, well, that person is no longer with us. Also know where the ice is, know where the front desk is so you can ask for help. Anytime you get to the court, if there's obstacles or hazards on the way to the court, around the court, near the bathroom, etc., make sure that the pathways around are safe for the players and the families, and yourself. Double, triple, quadruple check that the courts are playable. And this is a place I would like to stop because I know some of us often get asked, well, are they playable? Well, I don't know. Are they playable? What would make a court unplayable? Ken, do you want to share some instances or suggestions of playability or unplayability?
Sometimes, it's a court that a teaching professional is on, and there's the ball hopper, the ball little mower thing there that's not in the right place, or sometimes you find that court that's just not in great shape. The surfacing, there are cracks, there are chips in the surface. I mean, these are all things that you would report to the tournament desk and say, hey, I really don't think that this is the court we should be using. But little things, if the playing surface is fine, just moving the ball hopper out of the way, getting the court set up so that the playing area is safe for the players to move about.
What about leaves?
Oh yeah, we definitely want to get if there's a blower, if I love the facilities that have electric blowers. It's so easy with the battery pack. Those are the best facilities. It's an easy. You pick it up and you blow the leaves and you just get them out of the way. Because yeah, leaves can be dangerous for players in the playing surface.
Always know the details of the facility. Where are you? What's the address? What are you near in case you do need to contact emergency services? And then I know most of us have at one time in our lives been CPR certified or first aid certified. And I know now that the USTA gives umpires credit, continuing education credit, for doing those courses. Just another tool to have in your back pocket to use if something does happen.
I want to go again to the AED because most facilities will have it. So it's always best to figure out where it is just in case. I'm going to be honest. I'm at an age in my career that maybe it could be used on me, and I'm just gonna let it out there that you just never know. And you want to be at a facility that has that, just in case. That is such a great tool to revive somebody whose heart is stopped, and it can happen out there. So,
any other questions about event safety? All right, last but not least, we have player safety. And of course, our fabulous friend, the ring. What do you think of this? Safe? Not safe? That looks like a lawsuit waiting to happen. But she's dedicated. I would never want to hit those balls again. But the weather also is going to be a factor in playability of courts and knowing whether or not they're ready to go. I know oftentimes we get asked, well, the officials didn't deem the courts playable yet. Ken, what do you look for after rain to make sure that the courts are playable?
There's really two things. A lot of times it's the back area that's beyond the baseline towards the fence. You want to make sure that it's dry enough that the player moves, they're not going to slip. And of course, it's those pesky white lines, which they still haven't developed a paint that can be used for white lines that is not slippery when you step on it. So it's just one of those things, you know. You just have to wait for the courts to dry properly before they get on them again, because you don't want a player to slip and get injured because the court is not ready.
In addition to courts being moist, we also want to make sure that the nets are in good condition, that they're at the appropriate height and they have good tension, that there's a net strap, that if we're playing singles, that we have single sticks, that those hazards are gone. Those are things that are physical. And there's also the other pieces, i.e. Mother Nature, that come into making the safety of a match or an event. That's the heat index. Sometimes it's just plain old hot, too hot to play tennis, too hot for people to be out there. The air quality, I know that NorCal, and I think, I know we've adopted it. The air quality index has certain ranges in which play is allowed or not allowed. We don't get it too much down here, but rain, sleet, or snow do cause the lines to get slick, and they do cause moisture on there. So we want to make sure that we're cognizant of those. Every once in a while, California finds itself in a state of emergency, or a hurricane's coming, something like that. Who would have thought San Diego would have a hurricane? Also lightning. And then obviously making sure that we know that if there is an injury on court and it is affecting the match, and how we handle that, and what the pieces of a medical timeout are. Ken, you want to go quickly through medical timeouts and how those are managed?
I mean, I think we all know. I mean, we have to
Okay.
err on the player safety with the medical timeouts. So most times we're dealing with medical timeouts where there's no trainer present. So we talk to the player. We find out if they have a mom or dad that can help them. They come on court. We give them reasonable time to get what they need to treat their son or daughter. And then they have 3 minutes to treat them. And then we continue to play. The one thing, it's only happened a handful of times in my career, is the bleeding timeout. We want to really make sure that the bleeding has stopped. And most of it, in my experience, has been a nosebleed for kids that come and they're just not used to the conditions. So we really want to make sure that that gets stopped. And unfortunately, after we take that one bleeding timeout and that nosebleed should happen again, then unfortunately we have to retire that player. But I've only had to retire one player from that because it was visible after they got up and played, the nose started bleeding again. And I just apologized, said, I'm so sorry, but I have to retire you because it's a safety issue, honestly, at that point. So during the 15-minute max timeout for a bleeding timeout, you're going to tell the player, hey, this is our one stoppage of play to get this rectified. So just know that if you get up and play again, it happens again, then unfortunately, you're going to have to retire. So it's all communication when this happens. And again, it's happened one time in the 20 plus years that I've been officiating, so it doesn't happen all that often. But you just need to know how to handle those situations when they come up. And summer's coming. We're finally getting hot in Southern California, at least. So summer's coming. So get ready.
Maybe you can help answer a question. I was working in an event with Carol Choi, if she's on this call. Hey, Carol. And we had a player on the court who went back for an overhead, and he kind of skipped back into the fence, but of course he missed the last skip and he fell and he hit the back of his head into the pole of the fence that had that cute little metal round about it, and it literally poked a hole in his head and he started bleeding everywhere on the backside of the court. The EMS came. We had a doctor and a nurse on site. He was treated. He refused medical attention from them to go to the hospital and signed off on it. And they bandaged up his head, and Carol and I looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do if he wants to play? So do we, as officials and tournament directors, have the ability to make that decision for them?
And honestly, usually the mom and dad are there. So
This
you're
is
all,
an adult, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry, adult. So I would say yes, because you're going to err on the safety of the player. And in that situation, that's, in my opinion, not a good recovery situation. So, and I think in talking with that player, you're going to say for your safety, it's best that you just don't continue and you get the medical attention that you need. We had some other questions.
Sure.
So Marcia asked, I've been to many events where nets are not in good condition, lights are out. Shouldn't SCTA check beforehand to make sure these are indeed in working order? So it's actually the tournament director's responsibility to make sure that the nets are in good condition, the courts are in good condition, the lights are working. So if that's not happening, then you need to, Marcia, I would let Maria know that this is what I encountered as an official, and this should not be happening. I go to a lot of places where the nets are just in bad condition, and we're repairing nets. I mean, we did it last week in the junior sectionals at the Great Park in Irvine. I mean, so we have a list of items to give to Victor at the Great Park saying, hey, you know what, dude? These nets need to be changed out. They're past their prime. You got to fix them. So just if you see something like that, let Maria will act on it. I'll act on it too, because it's just not the places that we want the players to go play. And it needs to be corrected. And that's really on the shoulders of the tournament director. And Cornelia, hi Cornelia, long time. Would you please address heat exhaustion for both players and officials? That's, you know, in an ideal world, you have a trainer that can come out and assess the situation, but most times there isn't a trainer. And you have to make a decision along with the tournament director about playing conditions in extreme heat. I know in the old days, I mean, you would give a 10-minute rest period on a hot day in between second and third set. Unfortunately, a lot of formats now are 2 sets in a match tiebreak. So what do you do in those situations? Yeah, I don't know if I have a complete answer to that one. If you know there's a player and you're involved with a player that you see is physically failing, you're gonna talk to that player and say, okay, you need to sit down, drink some water, some Gatorade, whatever, to try to recover. If they can take a medical timeout, great. If not, you just have a conversation with them and say, hey, do you feel that you can continue to play? Because again, the safety of the player is paramount, especially on a really hot day. And that's what's coming in the next 3 months, is conditions will be hot out on the court. Cornelia, I'll research that and I'll get back to you and everybody else on the call about what's the best way to handle it. And I don't want to guess, because that's a serious topic, because it comes to the player's health and safety. And then Fred, a related question about a college match Only a qualified trainer or doctor or coach can make that call. I completely agree about the safety of the player, but it is really our call in regards to the adults. Okay, thank you, Fred. And David Martinez, also in your scenario where the player cut their head and was profusely bleeding, there could also be a concussion issue. Can you discuss concussion protocol? Again, a lot of that is trainer related. There's a trainer there that can help, but there also are protocols in USTA with concussions. So again, I'm not going to guess on the spot. I will circle back and answer yours and Cornelia's questions in details and get them out to everybody so that we have a clear understanding of how to handle that. And Cornelia, thank you as well. These topics are liability issues when it comes to how we handle them in relation to the situation with the player. So, you know, take your time. If you have your friend at court, open it up and research it. You've got about 15 minutes to make a decision because no stoppage of play will last more than 15 minutes. If you're the roving official, call your referee for advice or the person that hired you. They'll always should be a good wealth of information for you. But always, I would go to the friend at court a lot of times. You have a little bit of time to research and make the best decision that you can. And a lot of these situations that we're talking about right now, they don't happen all the time. This is like the 0.001%. But we have to be ready to handle those, right, when they happen. So keep your friend at court handy, use your resources, and use the time that is allocated to you to make the best decision.
Also, Ken, your partner is the tournament director, and
Yeah.
they're there as a support and a consult for you if you need. And I think the second part of Cornelia's question, she said, what if the official has heat exhaustion? And in that case, I would go right to the tournament director, especially if you're the only official on site, or to the referee if you're not, and make sure you put your personal safety first.
Absolutely. I see it. You're a caregiver in tennis, and when the caregiver goes down, it all goes down. So you got to take care of yourself first. And if you're not feeling well, then you need to take a time out and take care of yourself.
Any other questions?
That is it for the moment. Wait. And Cornelia also add, with adults, if an EMT was called, would the recommendation carry weight in decision about playing? I would definitely, if an EMT is there and they're assessing the player, yeah, I would take what their assessment is into account in talking to the player. So ultimately,
the EMT will always give a recommendation as to what they think, whether you're going to get or not get medical attention. And if they recommend it and you don't take it, you sign off on it. And then you proceed as you would. In the situation I described with Carol, Choi, and I, we were both powwowed and said, yeah, 100%, he's not going back on the court. It's too much of a safety issue. Gratefully, his partner came and let us know that they retired. So we didn't have to make that decision, but we had powwowed together to make sure that it was not worth us. And then we cleaned up the blood and put the next match up.
yeah. And again, is it worth it? I mean, that's the big thing, we want to put it all out on the court, but we don't want to expire out on the court as well. So we make the best decision that we can with what we got. So
I guess the grand scheme of things is tennis is not a hazardous sport, but every once in a while a hazard comes to tennis.
yeah, it does.
Again, if you guys want to give us your feedback on these webinars and the information that is shared, we hope you benefited a little bit from it. It's not the most glamorous topic, but it is something we all need to be aware of. And I bet you next time you walk out on the court, you're going to be like, something doesn't feel right. And you're going to remember this conversation. And a reminder that next month on the 16th of July, we have Navigating Difficult Situations. So mark your calendars. And don't forget, we're going to have a party in Pleasanton on December 7th and 8th. And maybe, some people will get a prize.
I think by next webinar, we'll give details about the December 7th and 8th gathering in Pleasanton, Northern California, because I'm sure officials have questions. Well, I'm going to be a great event, but do I get a hotel room? Do I travel? How does that work? All this stuff. So we'll work on getting you information about that event in December. We really want as many people to come as possible. I think it's going to be a great weekend for us to all get together. So we will give you a lot more details within the next 30 days about how it's going to work so that you can go to Pleasanton, California and enjoy the weekend that's being planned for everyone.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening. Be safe.
Thanks, everyone.